Hey everybody, it's Christopher Nejman. You know, it's so nice to have a sewing machine that's built so well and has so much to offer you. So it makes your sewing so much more enjoyable and comfortable. Right now I'm in front of my Juki, and the model number of this Juki is an HZL F300. I want to give you a couple tips on this. As you can see right now, this is the built-in lighting. Above this I have a light above here. Now if I still want more light, I attach this external light. There we go. And I still want more light over here. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to use. Stay with me, I'll be right back. I just demonstrated multiple layers of cotton fabric sewing through this machine with no problem. I have a size 12 universal needle in here, and some people are buying fabric that's a cotton poly blend. So a universal needle may not be the right needle for a poly cotton blend, but you'll have to look that up online. And read which needles are appropriate to use for which fabric you're using. Now, I did a video a while back showing you how to look up information on needles, and I'll put a link to that below this video so you can read that for yourself to see what types of needles work for which type of fabrics. And then the size needles will be determined upon the density of your fabric. So I wanted you to see this because one time I saw in a group where somebody wrote and said their Juki F series wasn't going through thick fabrics, and they didn't appreciate it, didn't like it. Now this machine I received used. This was used in a factory. It actually was used in a factory, and it had a lot of wear to it. And I have to take this machine in to have it serviced yet. I haven't had it serviced professionally yet. So, but this is what this machine has just been used for many hours of continuous use in a factory where they were sewing over a lot of elastic and heavy other materials. So you can see how nice it's sewing for me, and I'm really enjoying this. So I definitely want to take it in though and have it checked out, because I'm sure it's been worn down. There might be a gear or two, a nylon gear or something might need to be adjusted, but look how beautiful that sewed by itself. Now let's get back to what I was telling you about wanting more light over here, and I'll show you a little trick I've got. Alright, so there are a couple different lights that you can get on like eBay. These are industrial sewing machine lights, and they get attached to your machine. I use a washer, and I put double-sided automotive tape on the back of the washer. What you want to do is you want to make sure you get some alcohol and clean your machine surface, and then clean any oil that might be on these washers. Make sure you clean that on both sides. Put your double-sided tape on there and then stick it on, and then you're able to remove this light every time you want to pack your machine up or just turn it in a different direction. Now, there's also, I tried these lights. These lights, they look like the light up there, but it's different. And I'll show you. They have a magnet, a metal, and it's a magnetic metal that, see, these are made for industrial machines, and it gets attached to the industrial metal-based machine. Well, since these machines are plastic, that's when I put the metal washer on, and then I can just attach it up there, and now I got all this extra light here. Isn't that great? So I got all that extra light, and then you just use like double-sided, you use clips that you could buy, 3M clips with the double-sided tape that comes with it. You stick it on the back of your machine for the wire, and then you have more surface to sew, more light to see. And you know, the more light you have, the better your stitching is going to come out, because you'll be able to see it clearly. So anyway, this is the Juki HZL F300. They made 3 in this series. They made the 300, 400, and 600. It's a really good machine. Very good machine. A couple things that I don't like is this isn't the greatest needle threader. I found that it's not the greatest needle threader compared to a baby lock needle threader. When I got this machine, it did not come with a knee lifter, but I found that my Janome MC9000 knee lifter, which is here, works, and also my Skyline S5 knee lifter will fit into there. So they must be telling me that Janome and Juki must share parts, possibly. You know, the industry shares parts with everything. But look at this. I want you to see this on this Juki. What does this remind you of? Some of you old-timers will remember what this looks like. The very first beginning, when Singer first introduced their commercial, their domestic computerized sewing machines. They were made by Juki, and you can see it's all the same getup here. That hasn't changed. It's still been there. Here's the lid. Here's the lid. These are the stitches that come built in. This is a minimal amount of stitches with some great selection, though. You can do anything with these stitches, from heirloom to creative decorative stitching, everything. Utilitarian, you got it all here. This is really, really great. And as I showed you in the beginning of this video, how I was sewing over this heavy weight cotton material. So when people say that, you know, their machines won't sew, I've done a series of videos on different machines, from the very basic heavy duty Singer sewing machine to this machine to my baby lock machine. Every machine that's out there I have, and I'll be doing more videos of the machines I own, showing you the capabilities of them all. But the point I'm making is that it's the operator who either knows how to sew or doesn't know how to sew. It's the operator who knows who's mechanically inclined or not mechanically inclined. It's the operator who took the time to study and take lessons, or the operator who just went and grabbed a sewing machine and started sewing right away, thinking it's going to be just like opening a book and reading it. It doesn't work like that unless you were educated your whole life to learn how to read in the language of where you live. Does that make sense? So just like driving a car, you just don't get in a car and take off down the road and expect to drive a straight line without wobbling a little bit. No, you've got to practice. You have to practice. Every machine has the same philosophy of the way it operates. Some, you know, the functions are different. This has touch screen with the push buttons here. It's computerized. Some are all mechanical with the knobs, but they all function basically the same way. They make a stitch, and they can sew through thick layers. Now, with that said, there are some machines that are very basic entry-level machines that look fabulous because they're all computerized, but when you take the machine apart, it's all plastic inside. There's a couple pieces of metal, but the frame itself is not an aluminum frame. Those are the machines you want to avoid if you're going to go over heavy fabrics, all right? Because when you don't have an aluminum frame machine, this top part is able to move and the bottom part is able to move, so it'll be out of sync. So when you go to sew something heavy, it's out of sync and it'll cause a needle to break, which can damage the machine and flick in your eye. Those cheap entry-level machines that are computerized, you'll see them at Walmart and stuff for a couple $100. Everyone thinks they're great because they're all, you know, computerized. They got all the bells and whistles, and you know, with our cell phones today, we all love bells and whistles. But if you're going to go over more than just 2 layers of cotton fabric, don't even bother. If you're going to be doing mass with pleating and everything, you don't want those machines. If you cannot afford anything more than $200, check out that Singer heavy duty machine that I posted. That's a great basic machine, Buy it from a reputable dealer. Buy it from a reputable site. Don't buy it from these off-place sites because they could sell defective ones. They could sell knockoff ones. You know, there's a lot of knockoff stuff out there. And the biggest place that sells knockoffs is Amazon. So you got to be careful. You have to be careful. My friend owns a business. She has a factory here in Florida. A customer called her one day and said, I bought your product, it's falling apart. She looked it up, she couldn't find the customer's name. She goes, I don't understand, did you buy our product at a trade show? Where did you buy our product? Did you order it? Because we don't have your name anywhere. She goes, oh, I got it on Amazon. She goes, Amazon? And she says, I don't sell on Amazon. So she went to Amazon and saw that a Chinese company not only copied all her photos, that her photos, United States copyrighted photos, not only used her photos, but they copied her product and were selling it on Amazon. That's how little that Amazon has security and policing. All right? So you've got to be careful, even on Etsy. Once upon a time, Etsy was just for homemade products, for handmade products. Now Etsy allows all these knockoff China manufacturers on there. Best thing to do, everybody, is go right to an independent dealer. Go right to an independent website of a small person, a small business, and buy directly from them. That's when you know you're going to get the quality. No matter what price range you pay for a machine, you got to buy something that's reputable and somebody's going to be there for support. Remember, if you buy a machine online from like Amazon, you're on your own. If there's an issue that it breaks and needs fixed, you got to be on you're going to be on your own, because Amazon, they don't fix machines, and Amazon does not give you sewing machine instructions on how to sew. They don't give you lessons. You got to take lessons elsewhere. If you want quality lessons, you pay for high-end videos, DVDs you could buy from professional industrial sewers. There are companies out there like Islander Sewing that sells DVDs on professional sewing. You can learn much on YouTube, like you're watching me on this video, okay? But the majority of the videos on YouTube are not going to teach you proper professional looking sewing. As I explained, for an example, you've got no extension table. They're sewing no extension table. They're sewing big pieces of fabric. It's hanging off the edge. They're just going like this. There's no proper ergonomics. This machine has been sitting in my closet for a while. When I started seeing some posts on Facebook that, you know, people were having problems sewing over multiple layers of fabric, and two ladies said, oh, my Juki won't do it, my Juki won't do that, what do I get? I'm thinking like, I have a Juki that I inherited. I'm going to pull it out and see what they're talking about. And as you can see when I demonstrated this, I don't have an issue. So it's operator error. Like any other time, 98% to 99% of the time with sewing machines, it's operator error because they're not mechanically inclined, they don't understand. They haven't taken the time to take lessons and study. And they're learning bad habits from people online on some of the sewing groups, and they're learning bad habits from some places on YouTube and even on television. You're seeing bad habits where they don't have the extension table. You know, so if you really want to learn properly, look for the true professionals. The professionals. You'll know the professionals when you see them, because their products are going to cost you a little more money. Their education is going to cost you a little more money, but guess what? You're going to learn the right way and you won't have any problems. Now, so with that said, let me do a couple stitches on here and I'll show you what else this machine can do. Okay, now I need to make a disclaimer here. I am not representing Juki. Juki did not send me this machine. Juki did not pay me for this video. I did inherit this machine from a friend, so I'm sharing the information because someone gave this to me and now I'm paying it forward. Do you understand? I was not compensated financially for this. Most of my videos that I'm doing recently, I have no longer been compensated for anything. So everything I'm posting is of my own word, my own experience, and my own work that I'm doing. Okay? All right. So this is cool because Juki gave you a nice selection of presser feet that come with this machine. And then you've got the buttonhole attachment under there. And like I said, knee lifter. Oh my God. If you can afford a machine with a knee lifter, there's nothing like it. When you're sewing, that knee lift, you just use that to go up and down. You can keep both hands on the fabric. My God, that is such a lifesaver. Once you start using a knee lifter, you will never want to go back to a machine. That's just the presser. You have to always put your hands on the back to lift it up. Believe me, once you get used to that knee lifter, and that's how professionals sew. professionals sew, and they never use pins. They use both hands on the fabric. They'll use pins for certain things, but when you're doing a lot of sewing and you're doing construction and you're doing long layers of sewing, you don't need to use pins. It's just you use your hands, and then you lift the knee lifter with your foot, or you lift the knee with your knee. You lift your foot with your knee lifter. There we go. This is great. Then on this machine, it also has a control in the back for the pressure of your knee lift, of your presser foot. So there's a little dial back there for the pressure of your presser foot. This is your presser foot. Now for all you newbies, let's go over a couple things. This here is a presser foot. This here that it attaches to is the ankle. Some machines have what they call a high shank ankle, and some have a low shank ankle. You can tell that this is a low shank. A high shank is higher. And there are diagrams online. If you just Google, you can Google, just enter diagram of low, high shank, and Singer slant shank, and it'll show you the difference. And then it'll also have diagrams that have the inches or millimeters that tell you to measure that, so you'll know what your machine is. So when you order accessories, you'll know what your machine is, whether it's low shank, high shank, is it an old Singer slant shank. Those things are available to you online to look it up. Alright, so now I'm going to do a couple decorative stitches, but to do decorative stitches, I need to use a satin stitch foot. Now, what is a satin stitch foot good for? You see that hollowed out groove underneath? This is a hollowed out groove. When you're doing decorative stitches and you have a buildup of thread on decorative stitch, it needs to glide underneath this like a tunnel. Okay? You may not need a huge tunnel, but you need something better than just this flat. Let me show you this. This foot here, the standard foot that came on here, this is your basic straight stitch and zigzag foot. And you can see it's flat on the back. Okay, that's flat compared to this foot, which has a hollowed out in the middle. So that allows you to glide as you're sewing, and your decorative stitches will not get hung up under the presser foot. I learned that the hard way when I was younger. I bought one of those inexpensive $99 Brothers sewing machines back in the early 90s. I wanted to do satin stitching, and it just wouldn't glide through, and I was not as educated as I am now, and I was cursing the machine saying, well, it won't do it. I see all these people doing it on TV, but this machine won't do it. And it wasn't until I went to it. See, I didn't have Google back then. I couldn't Google anything. I just looked at books. I had to look at any videos I bought online. I'm sorry, not online, but from catalogs and the back of magazines. And then one day I found a satin stitch foot from Nancy's Notions, and I said satin stitch foot. It showed what it did. I'm like, oh. So I bought one. I attached it like butter. It sewed like butter. That thick buildup of that satin stitch sewed like butter. Now, do you know what a satin stitch is? I'll show you what a satin stitch is. Let me demonstrate that for you. To achieve a satin stitch, you need to use a zigzag stitch. Now, I have my zigzag set at 7.0, and my stitch length is 0.3. What we're going to do is I'm going to do a test for you, and every inch or so I'm going to lower the width by 1 millimeter so you can see the difference in satin stitching. Satin stitching is great to use for decorative threads to give you nice detailed bordering and everything. There's so much that can be done with it. You can use it when you're doing applique. Applique is like the most important thing for satin stitching. People love that. It has that nice satin stitch around it. This is satin stitch. This is what I'm talking about here. Okay, so let me show you how beautiful this is going to run. Alright, so if I try to do this with my regular standard foot, it would get hung up. It wouldn't glide over this. It wouldn't glide underneath the foot. So here we go. This is 7.0 with 0.3 stitch length, and the tension is on auto. Now normally if you have a mechanical machine, you would set your tension, knock it down by 2 notches from your standard setting. In other words, if you have a 4 that's normal standard tension for you, knock it down to a 2. And all I'm using right now is just construction thread. I have Coates & Clark construction thread. This is their dual duty let's see, what is it here? I got it right here. This is a dual duty all-purpose. Dual duty all-purpose. This is when they used to make it in the USA. That's how old most of my thread is. Alright, so I did 7. Let me drop this down to a 6. Now I'll take it down to a 5. And let's go to a 4. 3. 2. And then of course 1 would be basically just a little wobble stitch. And let's see if I can go to a 0. 0 is a straight stitch. Alright, cut the thread. And let's look at this. So here is, this is the 7. And as you can see, as I knocked the width down, it got more narrow and narrow and narrow until it got to just a straight stitch. So that's what the satin stitch foot does. And you can see it's got a buildup of thread. You see? It has a nice buildup of thread there. It's kind of raised. Now some people like to put a cording on top of this when they sew, so it has even more of a raised effect. Would you like to see that? Let me try that. Okay, so what I'm switching to now is a purl foot. And the purl foot is going to be great to use when you're putting cording underneath. Now, for the cording that I decided to use, I'm using I get this at any home improvement store. It's a twisted Mason nylon. Here it is right here. And my stitch width I knocked down to 4.0, and my stitch length is 0.5. Okay? 4.0 for the stitch width and 0.5 for the stitch length. Let me start on this end so we'll get a better view. And what this is going to do is going to have that raised effect. This is good when you're making a lot of costumes and you want to raise trim. This is amazing. So let me check this out. Now, oh, there we go. You can get a purl foot online for your machine at most anywhere. Check with your local sewing machine dealer. They're not hard to find. So again, this is 4.0 width and 0.5 length. You'll want to adjust. You know, you want to make adjustments. Every machine is a little bit different. The thickness of the thread that you're using could be different. If it's still not moving and getting hung up, increase your stitch length. So you just have to make adjustments and test. Not every machine is going to work exactly the same, but the principle and the way to do it is the same. This would look good like when you make those Star Trek costumes where you've got the raised satin stitch around the cuff, you know. This would be great. This almost will look like piping. Yeah, let's call this faux piping. In fact, I'm going to call this video Faux Piping on the Juki F300. How about that? That's what I'm going to title this video. This video originally started out to show you that you can go over thick fabrics with this machine with no problems, and look how it advanced already, and I gave you a little more creativity to show you. Now forgive me, I don't have my extension table, but remember, this isn't my permanent machine. I just pull this out of the closet to show you the thickness of the fabric. I got to make an extension table for this if I'm going to sew on this for a long if I pull this out and make this one of my permanent sewing machines to use, I will definitely have an extension table for this. I've got many videos out on YouTube that explain why and how to use that extension table for your arm placement. Alright, let's stop there, cut the thread. This has a scissor cutter, which is fabulous. Now let's pull this out and look. Now remember, this was just Coats & Clark construction thread. And I'm going to get a close-up for you guys with the camera to see this. This is just that basic Coats and Clark construction thread, and it does look like beautiful faux leather pipe, like beautiful piping. I can just see this on Star Trek costumes, on other costumes. It's just beautiful. Let me get a close up for you. First, this is the regular satin stitching, right? This is just, and then here's the satin stitching with the cording, the rope inside, the little rope. Look at that. Now let's look on the side here. I'm gonna see if I can try to get a good close up for you. It's nice and raised. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Just so awesome. I can't seem to get a good close-up here. I'm trying. There we go. Trying to focus that. Very nice, isn't it? Isn't that cool? Wow, and you see how it's raised? That is so nifty. That's a faux piping. Now you can try to make it a little tighter by going down just one notch on your stitch length and see if it moves. If it's not moving, then you can't go any lower. You can't go any lower. But try using that piping foot on your machine to get this beautiful raised effect. And listen, I'm serious. Can you imagine if I did this with rayon thread, the rayon embroidery thread? It would have a really beautiful sheen. Now this has a nice sheen already, and like I said, this is just that basic Coats and Clark yellow thread. This is basic Coats and Clark, as you can see right here. Coats and Clark. Let me pull it out and see exactly what it says on the bottom. It says, oh, this is mercerized cotton. This is all cotton. This is cotton. This is not yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, cotton polyester. Yeah. It's a cotton and polyester blend, just like I said. Yep. And that's what that is. Just lay it there. One more. Here you go. Faux piping. Isn't that beautiful? That's what I showed you on this Juki. And like I said, I have. If you need a knee lifter and you lose your knee lifter and you can't find one for a Juki, you can get one. The Genomes will fit. Isn't that nice? Can't live without that knee lifter, guys. Really, seriously, when you sew, look at that. Look how much easier it makes it. And that's what you get when you move up and step up to a more higher price machine. And most all my machines have a knee lifter, and my basic entry-level machines do not. And every time I go to use my basic entry-level machines, I'm lost without my knee lifter. I have a classic vintage Singer 401A machine that I've done many videos on, and that's a little powerful machine. Boy, if that had a knee lifter, that would be everything. All right, so go ahead, try this. Get yourself a pearl foot and try this with your machine, and try different color threads, different types of threads, and see what you have, what you come up with. I hope this tip helps you all. Newbies, you just learned something new. So, all right, take care, everybody. Till my next video. Have a great day, great evening, whatever time you're watching this, and enjoy your machine and take time to get to know it. Don't be in a rush. It's like driving a car, guys. Don't speed if you don't know how to handle the road. Don't speed at all. All right, wear your mask, stay safe, love you, bye.